Superpower of Looking kit is the core of each Superpower of Looking lesson and is the focus of Stage 3. The kit is formed from a series of questions which introduce the formal elements we consider when we read an image. Sometimes it's difficult to ask the right questions of an image, especially if this is the first time you've ever seen it. That's why the Superpower kit does all of the hard work for you. It reminds you of the types of questions you need to ask of an image in order to really read it. The kit also introduces a series of relevant art terms which build lesson by lesson to empower detailed description and evidenced discussion. Okay, so here I'm looking at composition in the painting, and I'm pointing out the pyramidal form, if you like, which I'm calling a triangle. And I'm getting the students to notice that one very important aspect of the triangle is the apex, so the bit right at the top, and that often holds our attention. Interestingly, and I think it was a source of curiosity for the children, a very important but small element of the picture was right at the apex, and that was the experimenter's hand, and they found that quite interesting. And actually he already worked out that he might be controlling something at the top. There was something going on there. And it was actually looking at the pyramid that allowed them to make their journey up to the apex and spot that. In terms of the composition, it's arrangement of things, yeah? Because that's what you do probably in your own spaces. You arrange things. Big scary word, composition, it's quite difficult. Arrangement of things, but also where we're made to look. Other compositional elements that they noticed were how there were certain groups of figures on either side, and we had fun looking at the different gestures as we moved around the composition.
There's a bird in there, and then it looks like he's pointing at the bird.
Good. It was quite early on that they noticed something actually that was really off-centre, and that was the moon. And that seemed to be a source of fascination for them, because even though it was off-centre, and so actually wasn't dominant in the composition, they actually slowly journeyed through to understand that it was the light elements that were creating the mood. So we've got what kind of light? We've got the natural light, which is and then we've got the artificial light, which is candle. Right. So we've got two sources of light in this work deliberately to illuminate what's going on. Another element of the Superpower kit is where we focus on the figures and poses and gestures. It's really important actually to do this because sometimes the narrative unfolds through very careful looking. Okay, who else? Yeah, over there.
I can see that there's a woman and she's covering her eyes while the man is trying to ease her, and then there's the daughter holding on to the woman.
Ah, okay, so you've just spotted a relationship there, haven't you? So you've noticed gesture, and this gesture of crying usually is quite a strong one. And you were saying, so you think that this man is what in relation to these two?
Maybe like the dad or the husband to the girl and the woman.
Yeah, I think she looks quite young, so I think you're right. I think that's probably her father. The responses that the children gave at the start were a little bit generic, and sometimes they were looking at me rather than looking at the painting. When I redirected them to the painting and asked them to really study the facial expressions of individual characters, we got down to the minutiae of a furrowed brow. And I think that was the moment actually when they realised that that's how acutely I wanted them to look. Do the same arm positions and try and pull the same face. I'll let you know how good you are. The last time you looked like that, what was on your mind?
I think he knows that it's not very likely that this is going to be okay. I think there's like a melancholy look on his face.
When using questions from the Superpower kit, feel free to adapt them as you see fit. You may ask fewer questions to focus on those most relevant to a particular work, or even reword or rephrase questions to differentiate in accordance with the current knowledge and understanding of your students. How are you able to tell me? And I need evidence with your eyes. Very good evidence. Yep.
You can tell by the light and where the light is like shining on some places, like on the velvet, you can see that it looks like shiny.
Right.
And you can see the material.
So I agree, 100%. But how exactly? Yep.
Because he's really distinguished the shadows, the shine on the velvet is kind of a whitish colour,
Great.
which is commonly used as light.
You're right. Don't forget that the skill of looking is what the superpower of looking is really all about. The kit is the knowledge element, but it's there to guide you, to allow you to pause over certain elements with your students and build on the knowledge, which is the vocabulary.